When you're planning your typical ski vacation, you're probably not considering scenery as your number one criteria. But Heavenly knocks it out of the park in this respect, with staggering natural views that feel like they belong on a postcard. But looks aren't everything, and while the resort is certainly competitive, we wouldn't call everything about its overall experience pretty. Heavenly's mountain vibes are just on another level. Views of the vibrant Lake Tahoe from nearly every non-base area are breathtaking and unlike anything you'll see at any other resort. The lake never freezes due to its substantial depth, and from the mountain, it feels like you're looking down into an area that's experiencing another season. Most Nevada side areas look directly onto a valley rather than the lake, but you're still really high up, giving you a commanding view of your surroundings. The valley actually sits at a lower elevation than the lake, so if you're in the right place at the right time, you're in for some crazy views. But it's not just the views that produce Heavenly's extraordinary feel. The top of the mountain itself feels otherworldly. The notable elevation difference from the base and frozen, unique tree species up here make for a vibe that lives up to the resort's namesake. If for some reason you're attracted by the novelty of skiing across state lines, Heavenly has you covered. The resort encompasses land in both Nevada and California, with major base lodges in both. If you're staying in South Lake Tahoe, you can get to or from the resort through this long but phenomenally beautiful gondola ride. Despite having few true bowl areas, Heavenly contains quite a diverse selection of terrain. Blue trails make up about half the resort, and the best lake views exist off upper mountain cruisers like this one. Glade skiing is also excellent here, with large pine trees in lower mountain areas and shrubs at the top. All the woods on the mountain are reasonably spaced and skiable in good conditions. Oh, and if you're in the upper mountain glades, you get a phenomenal view of the lake. Heavenly also seems to knock it out of the park when it comes to natural obstacles. Lots of protruding rocks exist across the more difficult gladed runs. When you're in the thicker lower mountain wooded areas, you can find some stumps as well. If you're not careful, some of these obstacles can box you in, and you'll have to backtrack. When it comes to really tough terrain, most of that exists on the Nevada side in the Mott and Kilbrew areas. Due to their precarious nature, access to these only comes through gates. Mott Canyon, which is the shorter and easier access area of the two, comprises very steep, narrow chutes. This area doesn't really contain many cliffs, but runs here require impeccable composure and demandingly short turns in some sections. Gates 4 through 6 are lappable through the Mott Canyon chair, while gates 1 through 3, which are a bit higher up, either require another lift or a bit of an uphill catwalk to reach. Kilbrew Canyon comprises precipitously steep, demanding lines with severely tight turns, steep drops, and hidden elements such as rocks. There's no doubt this area contains the toughest inbound terrain on the mountain. But unfortunately, lapping these formidable slopes is unrealistic. Every Kilbrew run leads to one of two long, time-consuming runouts with flat traverses, parts of which require uphill sidestepping. Reaching some upper gates requires prolonged traversing as well, and depending on the gate, getting back to the top of Kilbrew involves taking 2 or 3 lifts. When it comes to terrain parks, Heavenly offers 2 enjoyable areas. But while they're beautiful, they're not as competitive, size and feature-wise, as those at some other areas. Beginner terrain at Heavenly is lacking too. Despite the resort's 4,800-acre footprint, there are barely enough green trails to count on 2 hands. Heavenly is a large, complicated mountain, and trying to get around the resort shows it. Getting between major mountain areas can require long, flat traverses or catwalks, and some lower elevation mountain areas are unintuitive to find. And while most major areas see high-speed lift service, some areas still have long, slow lift routes that are completely out of place at a resort of this caliber. A few choke points exist too, especially at the end of the day, when a few lifts provide the only return access from some areas of the resort to the others. You go to Heavenly because of its views, not because it has the best snow in North America. Variable weather patterns make for somewhat inconsistent snow conditions and can occasionally result in thin cover. During bad seasons, off-trail wooded terrain can easily mask serious hazards. On the other hand, good seasons can bring substantial powder, with accumulation close to or matching the best resorts in North America. Wind exposure is somewhat of a factor at Heavenly as well. A number of areas across all elevations suffer from wind-blown cover even after snowstorms. However, Heavenly ultimately stays resilient thanks to excellent snowmaking. The resort employs snowmaking on more than half of its terrain and maintains operations throughout the season. During the early season, or in a less than ideal winter, be prepared to ski through some active snow guns. When it comes to on-mountain facilities, Heavenly is hard to beat. Lodges with dining options exist at most major resort junctions, and many of them have outdoor seating, which is great for soaking up the sun on warm weather days. So Heavenly probably won't be your best bet if your main criteria are consistent snow and extreme terrain. But if you're attracted by Heavenly's extraordinary lake views and unique footprint, it absolutely delivers. Ticket prices are definitely on the expensive side, but if it's Heavenly's unique feel that you're looking for, there's nothing else that can match.